Have you ever felt like the story you thought was ending was actually just the beginning? This full moon in Pisces is not about closure. It's about holding paradox. The energies this week show us that doubt and confusion are the very energies that birth a new truth, a new narrative, and a new us. Let's talk about why the eclipse could completely reset the story that you've been telling yourself.
Welcome back. I'm Richard Corbett.
And I'm Brandy Jordan.
Each week, we bring you human design and astrology insights so you can navigate the transits with clarity and stay rooted in your inner authority. Today, we're diving into the Pisces Full Moon Eclipse, a moment charged with paradox, mutation, and unconditional love. The skies are alive with activations that remind us survival isn't just about getting by, it's about aligning with the truth of who we are. Now, as we look at the eclipse and the sun and the earth, it is quite a paradox.
It is.
Gate 63, where the moon is, conjunct the earth in the human design body graph, opposite the sun at the full moon.
In 64.
I've always found those gates to be such a paradox. The gate 63 in the human design system is part of logical circuitry. It's in the head center. It's the pressure to find a formula, to doubt, as we say, the pattern of health, wellness, and sustainability. But it seeks understanding.
Right.
It wants the details. It wants the minutia. But gate 63 is in the astrological sign of Pisces.
Right.
Mutable water, the endless Neptunian illusion, imagination of Pisces. Gate 64 on the opposite side of the wheel, called the gate of confusion.
Yeah.
Part of the abstract circuitry connected to our deep emotions and cyclical nature of life, is in the sign of Virgo, about details and the minutia. So it's just quite a paradox. I would have guessed previously that they were opposite of what they are.
That's right. We have to remember 63 and 64 are at the end of the proverbial story.
Yeah.
They're at the end of the chain of stories that leads to a truth in 63. And this is after completion of the hero's journey of human consciousness. There is a truth with a capital T that is told. But as soon as that truth is told, it no longer is a truth. It dissipates. It becomes 64 before completion. And it's before completion because when there is a truth, there is now more available to us. And that it's really beautiful to be able to hold that paradox, to be able to hold two truths at the exact same time. That yes, this is true for me. Yes, this is the details. This is the logic. This is how I understand it. And now there's a whole new story to be told. The Russian dollness of it all, that something else becomes of what you think you have in your hand.
Wow, that was so beautiful. And it's making me feel into this eclipse season. Eclipses, they often indicate something ending.
Right.
A change. The luminary going dark in the sky. Something's happening. It's out of the normal pattern. It is part of the pattern we are able to understand in time. In fact, as the ancients began to understand eclipses, they were used to check the math on their calendar to reset timing. And so everything you're sharing there has that feel of what we go through in an eclipse time. Depending on how this is hitting your individual chart, it could be a time of something changing, something being let go.
Right.
It's connected. The moon is conjunct the north node in gate 22. So it does have this forward-leaning sensation that it's harbinging something of the future in terms of its direction that it's pointing in.
And the south node in 47.
Yeah.
Being the sifting through the stories of the past to be able to build a new truth with a capital T, to be able to tell a new story. But we have to graft the old onto the new. This is how we move in the spiral of consciousness. So 47 is the ability to see all of the past and really determine what needs to move forward in the new story that you're creating. And I think that with it in the pressure, the loops to figure it out, it doesn't have to necessarily feel like oppression. It feel like I'm building a new story here. And I think the eclipse allows us that, or allows, invites by force sometimes, the surrender without understanding.
Yeah. Again, a beautiful perspective for all of us. Because as we look at the chart and see that gate 6447 channel activated at this lunation, it is a very mentally active channel. I personally have gate 47 activated in an undefined head nausea.
Yeah.
So even in this past week, we've had this channel defined. It often can feel mentally pressured, mental anxiety. I just want to figure it out. What is it? And yet, as you're sharing, it's not about that, because as soon as we figure it out,
it's something new.
It's something new already. So it really brings in this idea of surrender, allowing, appreciating the power of the mind to go back and look at the past as a self-reflected conscious human being. So it's really helpful to focus on the gifts of what that mental activity can bring, rather than letting it feel oppressive, which at times it can.
Yeah, and we can allow the oppression to exist. I have 47 and 64 activated in my chart, 64 twice. So there's a definedness about the way that I conceptualize things. I know through experience that allowing those thoughts to feel like pressure then releases the new story. It's like the fire, the alchemy that is needed to be able to burn what is untrue, take the essence of the old stories and go forward in something new.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a beautiful opportunity for all of us, like you said, to allow to feel the pressure, to acknowledge that it's here. We're not fighting it, but we're allowing it to give us enough pressure to create the diamond idea that is waiting for us next.
Beautifully articulated. Thank you for that. Now, as we're thinking about all this potential of this mental activity and pressure, it draws me towards the other channel that's activated in the chart for this lunation, is the channel of the brainwave, a design of penetrating bone deep into intuitive awareness
about ourselves.
Yeah, very individual, about survival as well, part of the integration field. Now, it's being activated because Mars in Libra is in gate 57, and Uranus, who has just recently turned retrograde in Gemini, in gate 20. He's really stationed right now. He technically turned retrograde last week, but when these outer planets stop and change directions, they're hardly moving in the sky. And so, as such, they actually, in a sense, have more energy. They're holding space in their place in space. And it's in gate 20. Right. So this idea of presence, my voice in the now, my intuitive awareness. So I feel like this brainwave channel is really encouraging us to go into our body.
That's right.
Listen.
This new story comes with a frame of symbiosis. So whatever new stories we're walking into carry a frame of my authenticity serves the full. If we look at everything on this earth that has withstood the test of time, those things are in symbiotic relationships to something else on the earth. That the plant's authentic expression, the tree's authentic expression, gives us oxygen in order to live. And so because of that, tree is always going to be here. And it doesn't have to earn money. It doesn't have to hold a sign that says we'll work for food. It doesn't have to go get a high-paying job to have what it needs. It just is tree. And because it is so valuable to everything else the earth has brought about because of tree, that it will always remain resourced. And that, to me, is what 5720 talks about, is the story of knowing so deeply, so clearly who I am in my proper direction, that divine selfishness, this selfishness that says that I know when I do the work to really express my authentic truth, that is the thing that equals my survival, period. When I be tree, I will survive. Because I exist, there is something to be in symbiotic relationship with my purpose. And so the clarity of intuition to be here now as me is the thing that will equal my survival and my resourcedness in the future.
Oh, man, so powerful. And that's stimulating a couple thoughts in me. One is being able to hold what you're sharing amidst the uncertainty.
That's right.
Whenever we're looking at individual circuit group, it carries with it the keynote of uncertainty. There is mutation and empowerment, but not 24/7 necessarily. There will come the new cycle, which we're in with an eclipse season. And so I think it's really holding that trust and vision of ourselves.
Even when we don't see it.
Even when we don't see it. And being fortunate enough to have a beloved that can
to remind us.
We do the best we can to help each other in that.
We do. There's a remembering that gets to happen, and the allies and the beloveds that we have in our lives, we get to invite them to help us. We get to teach them how to love us by saying, hey, can you help me remember when I've forgotten how magnificent I am? And we say, hell yeah, I will.
Yeah.
And so this is how we remember and stand sovereign in the truth of who we are through the mental oppression of what is the truth of what the hell is going on around me right now. We're not here to do it alone.
Yeah. Wonderful. And the other thing that was stimulating me was that when we look at Uranus and the channel of the brainwave with Mars, we were speaking about and connecting with the deep innate wisdom of our body. I'm thinking about Uranus in this incredible minor trine with Pluto and Neptune and Saturn. And so Uranus being in gate 20, as we talked about, Pluto is in gate 60 in retrograde.
How fun.
And Neptune and Saturn, also both in retrograde, are in gate 25. And so these outer planets in these two sextiles and a trine, this minor trine we've been calling it, are very free-flowing. They're communicative. They're like a river, all these separate water droplets flowing together in concert. Something grand is at work. It's very hard at this stage to know what the future may be.
Yes.
But what we can say is that at this incredibly formative time of the outer planets, they're all in individual gates. And I think there's a whole story there about that connects to what we're talking about right now.
There is. And I got some visuals while you were talking of this Uranian god of the skies, the father of the cosmos, here saying, hey, you didn't see this one coming, did you?
Yeah.
And we're all like, ah. But then here comes the taskmaster and our shadows. And so it feels almost comforting. I have Saturn in gate 40, so it feels comforting to allow a disciplined structure, a protective masculine boundary that says, all right, let's work on these shadows. Let's get into that Pluto. And then Neptune and universal love, just bringing the waters of clarity and change and either constriction because you feel like you're drowning in your shadows, or free flow because you've surrendered to the feeling of not good and you've allowed it to move with the energy of Neptune. So the visual that came
I love it.
was such a beautiful, fun, supportive, masculine and doing time, like a time to be, when I say doing, I'm more disciplined. I'm a right brain person, so I don't really like time or discipline at all. And so I say I'm putting time and containers around certain shadow or feelings that I don't love to feel so that I can allow myself the time to feel them and let them move through my body in a time frame that feels safe to me, that feels nurturing to me. So it feels Father Saturn is really helping me go into the Platonic world, and then Neptune is coming and washing everything out so that I can see what the Father of the sky is asking of me.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. And helping fuel that is, you're speaking about Pluto in gate 60, the archetype of limitations. Speaking to the tagline of that gate is one of my favorites. Acceptance is the first step in transcendence, allowing the time and the space to be. But we also have Chiron in retrograde in Aries at the time of this lunation is in gate 3.
That's right. So, supporting experimentation or mistake or coming and testing is encouraging experimentation edges of what you've done.
Yes. And speaking to the power of healing within that, right? To have Chiron and Pluto in the channel or archetype of mutation. What it speaks to me is that, again, it's not about doing.
Right.
It's about holding space, holding ourselves, holding each other. The cosmos, as above, so below, and back and forth, it's all available to us. This is why we love doing these transit discussions, how we can be aware to accept and align with the energy that's there, and of course follow our inner authority or personal authority at all times. But the energy of transformation is so palpable right now.
And to surrender, to add to one of the reasons we do this is because we are both Ironic beings. We are both here to be wounded and to be healed. And so in our efforting to be here in equanimity, we have learned this as a tool to be able to know that we are exactly where we need to be and how to surrender to the whole cosmic movement that we are a part of.
Yeah. Yeah. And as we're doing that, in real life and conversation and this discussion, and I'm thinking about that Chiron and Pluto and Mutation and Uranus and gate 20 that we've spoken about, when we look at the triangle, we look to the apex of that, which is back to that Saturn and Neptune in gate 25. And it's called the archetype of innocence. It's also called the archetype of the spirit of the higher self. And to me, it's come to mean life and joy without preconditions.
That's right.
And boy, that's an efforting process.
It is. Life without preconditions. Think about the last time that you innocently went into your community, your family of origin, your beloved relationships, and you just came in as yourself without any thought about who was there or what their mood was or what was happening. You didn't check the temperature of the room. You just walked in, and maybe this is me and my manifestor Aries self, but that's the innocence. And then what happens when somebody gives you a look? What happens? You go, and your skin gets a little tight. Belly comes up, or my stomach comes up a little bit in my chest, and I dart my eyes and I look around and I figure out what I missed. That's constriction. That is what we feel like if we really pay attention to what our body is saying when we go to a job that we don't like, when we continue to be in a relationship that we're not communicating within, when we continue to give ourselves away to things that are not what we are. That constriction is what we feel. And so I invite you to feel that constriction, because we got to get there before we can let it move. So feel yourself constrict when you get in the car at 6 a.m. to go to some job you hate. Feel yourself constrict when you have to sit in traffic on the way home. Feel yourself constrict when you think of all the have-tos and should-dos and all of these things that don't allow you to innocently move into the world around you. That's what that 25 to me is inviting us. And I could talk about, universal love and it's all that, but we can't get there unless we feel where we're constricted first.
Yeah. And we can, as you're sharing, to use that as an opportunity, an invitation for curiosity.
Yeah.
What is there for me to see, to accept, to heal? Right?
Yeah.
It's quite a process, but it is possible.
And it's such a supportive process with Mars in 57 and Uranus in 20, because Uranus gives us the voice to say, wait, I am this now. And 57, Mars in 57 gives this not just clarity of vision, because 57 is usually the gentle wind. It's the wind of that quiet intuition. That's what 57 tells you is healthy and viable for you. Those little whispers are what's healthy and viable. So there's a lot of support, I think.
Well, and also added support from the transit field is that Pisces, the traditional ruler of Pisces, is Jupiter. And right now, Jupiter is in Cancer, and he's exalted there. He's treated like royalty.
Yeah.
This idea of inner emotional security, friends, family, nourishment. So again, just an added support at the time of this lunation, looking at Jupiter. And Mercury is within 5 degrees of the sun at this lunation, closing in on a conjunction that'll be coming up next week, but he's in his home sign. So he is bringing this grounded Virgoan ability to understand the details. So he can really pay attention. Mercury, he helps us integrate our life force energy in general. So he's available here, very supportive again, moving closer to the sun in his home. So there is one uncomfortable aspect to bring up, is that Venus currently moving through Leo, which she has quite a good time in Leo. But Venus is in gate 7 and is in a quincunx to the full moon and a square and a half to Saturn. So she's providing this uncomfortable, awkward, it's a bit of a challenging spot. And so when we think about Venus as a very personal planet, the archetype of our wants, desires, harmony, tranquility, in gate 7, which is a role gate of the higher self, it's the role of interaction with others from our higher self, pointed towards the future and where we're going. And I think as I'm sharing just the keynotes, I can feel how all of this transformation and inner work and possibility may ultimately be a little difficult in exchange of our interaction with others. Something new is emerging with this amount of mutation happening.
Yes.
And that's not always easy to articulate. It's not always easy to help others love us in that moment.
That's a perfect full circle to going back to what I was just talking about with Mercury in gate 4, I think, is the ability to share from this almost reserved place of, it's a protection of self, it feels like. Mercury in 40 says, I'm not going to do what I'm not supposed to do anymore. And Venus, I think, in gate 7 is sharing that I when we say highest self, we mean most authentic. We don't mean highest like there's a low self and a high self. Or we just mean there's an authentic self and then there's this mask that we put on sometimes. So we're talking about the most authentic self, and Venus being there. She's more powerful than I think most of them. Her and the moon together rule the world there. And I think that she, in this way, gets to say, this is how I will be treated. This is how to love me. This is the way I'm going to move through the world. And you either meet me here or you don't have you don't have access to my energy, period. And I think that is inviting all of us into our own ecosystems that we find symbiosis in. The lion in the savannah is not going to go live in the ocean. There's not a symbiotic relationship with the lion in the ocean. But the lion going to the savannah will absolutely find symbiosis. The lion doesn't call the ocean wrong, bad, and shameful because it's not for him. He just goes to where he is useful, valuable, and in symbiosis with the community. And Venus in gate 7 says to me, find where you belong. And it feels like the energy to say, this is who I am, meet me here. And that magnet allows the people who are for you to come and the people who are not to go away. That's just the nature of physics.
Yeah, I think you're really speaking so strongly toward the idea of authenticity.
Yeah.
And total honesty.
Yeah.
And the outer planets, again, because they're in individual gates, they are urging us that way forward, I think. We've shared with each other that the part of individual gates is creativity, are by nature creative. So whatever is stimulating that self creativity right now, it is our currency of the future. This is our place. This is our savannah or whatever our service. Love that you said service, because that's where we started this lunar cycle with the Virgo new moon. And we're going to have another Virgo new moon in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So this idea of creative service where...
But you're not looking for it.
Yeah.
You are being it. And any work that you have to do is just to move out all of the beliefs that you have put in front of being you.
Yeah.
That's the only work. There's no improvement. There's just allowing yourself to be and moving everything out of the way that you've placed there so that you didn't have to be that because you thought it would not be loved and liked and appreciated.
And it is Pisces. It's emotional. And again, I'm just feeling into how when we have these irritations, these uncomfortable stimulations, they are going to be really powerful right now for self-inquiry. Not the blame, the projection, the wanting the world to be a certain way to support me.
Yeah.
It's about me finding, how do I internally move from awkwardness and uncomfortableness to creatively comfortable?
That's right. Oh, this is beautiful. And this life without preconditions. That's what this is. Is the movement into... You were sharing something earlier that I think is important to talk about, is the wounding as the lock and unconditional love as the key. And so when we are in those moments, like you were just talking about, of constriction because we think things should be different than what they are, after the eclipse, there is one other mechanic that is going to be available. And we wanted to talk about it here because it's the day after. And so this energy is going to connect gate 25, this authentic direction of self and the innocence of being yourself, to the willpower to initiate change.
After today of the full moon eclipse, the moon will move into Aries. Right. And in doing so, it's going to transit gate 51.
Yes.
And based on the current alignment of the planets, the moon is the only planet that will be passing through gate 51 for the next couple of months. And it's a short-term transit, as all lunar transits are, but it will be quite a emotional power of shock and invitation into, I think, what we're talking about. And so I would really, not only the next couple days, but also for these next 2 weeks, because we're also moving into the waning phase of the moon. And so there's going to be this encouragement and invitation to really go within, to take our time, to breathe, use our modalities to connect to the physical body and nurture ourselves, the idea of acceptance and surrender to the process of what we are creatively, mutatively becoming, and this self-empowerment that can be felt with that. But I think, as the moon goes through 51, for the day. And then as we move towards the next new moon, that we can really begin to, these eclipses, they are a portal. There's something that we can, in a sense, almost grasp from the other side, or the unknown, the unconscious. It opens up the world that is typically dark and unseen, can become seen.
And so I think this week a really big theme that is coming through me is of slowing down to see and to allow the feelings to be felt, allow the sight to be seen, allow the sounds to be heard. Be with yourself, because these moments, these short-lived transits, they are really spicy and really packed with moments of opportunity. And we can, when we're caught up in our mind and in the rush of the things that we must do, we can allow these moments to take us instead of being with the moments.
So mindfulness, always a beautiful thing to be doing.
Yeah.
But wow, really potent to be
Yeah.
mindful right now.
Slow, because we can be mindful and fast, but I'm inviting slowerness, because there is so much. The world is speeding up
Yeah.
so fast, but in order to stay grounded, we've got to slow. We've got to hold the paradox of everything moving faster, but us slowing just a bit.
I'm really glad you mentioned that, because all the outer planets are in retrograde right now, including Saturn. These outer planets are typically retrograde for almost half the year anyway, so that's not unusual, but they're all retrograde at this moment. And so that does, the inner planets are moving very quickly right now.
Right.
Mercury, Mars, Venus, they're all moving quickly. So it does feel very fast paced, but those outer planets are saying, wait a minute, there's something else to see here. There's something else to accept. Let's just slow down. So thank you for bringing up the slowing down, because certainly the outer planets are encouraging that, and yet we can lose sight of that very easily with the demands and expectations that we are all faced with each day. Thank you all very much for being with us. And if you enjoyed this or get support out of these videos, we always love the thumbs up. Please share your comments. We love to respond to them. And if you haven't subscribed already, please go ahead and hit that button. We'd love to have you part of the Embodiment Design community.
Feel free to share in the comments about what is happening for you this week. Where are you holding the need to understand things instead of surrender?
Yeah.
How does your body tell the truth of what you're doing to survive, or what is actually authentic? Your body will tell you the difference between those two. Imagining unconditional love as a lived experience. Could you imagine unconditional love? Just put it in your brain this week. And what are your crossroads? Where are you standing in life, where you're looking at one direction and another? Share in the comments and let's start a conversation.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay. Thanks for being here.
Thank you all. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.